All right, let's talk some Mariners. They got swept by the hottest team in baseball, the Miami Marlins, who are now a Major League best 26-8 since June 1st. Bill, of the issues with this team, right near the top, they're just leaving too many men on base. They were 2 for 25 with runners in scoring position, stranding 23 runners.
Well, this is going to be somewhat of a common problem for this team. This is an all-or-nothing slugging type team that can put up big numbers. But when you talk about the sort of get the runner over, get him in, this is not their style of play. They need to do better with 2 strikes. They need to think about the middle of the field a little bit more in the other way. And that includes Naylor and that includes Raleigh. When it's time to do that, you got to kind of shorten up and try to move the ball the other way. So I think these are things that the club needs to improve on. All the hitters need to improve on. But, you know, offensively, they're going to be a little up and down, but really getting everybody in the game. That would be kind of a nice thing to have at some point this season where the whole cast is playing.
Yeah, I mean, you're watching this game last night, and we have a lot of Mariners fans in the newsroom, and they're all kind of losing their minds right now. It's a bit frustrating.
And it's the same way we were losing our minds the night before when they just couldn't get any runners in score. They had runners in scoring position, they couldn't get them in. I mean, they couldn't. They seem like they just can't really do anything productive anymore. And you mentioned that they kind of live and die by the long ball. They're barely hitting that. They got 3 over this series, but in general, their home runs are significantly down. And if you're not producing there, where are you producing?
You know, you have to look at the stars. Rodriguez doesn't play in the series. That's a big blow. Raleigh still hasn't sorted it out. Naylor's been underperforming. And that's really the core of the lineup is those 3 guys. And they need to get better, and I believe they will get better. And the rest of the lineup is going to be up and down. I mean, Canzone's been terrific. Cole Young's been terrific. They've gotten a lot of mileage from Raley. So I think it's just a matter of getting the whole cast together.
I mean, other than just precedent, what makes you think that Raleigh will get his act together this season?
Well, you're starting to see signs. I mean, he's starting to hit the ball a little bit better. He's hitting the ball hard. He's hit a couple home runs or a couple of doubles and a home run. So you're starting to see the bat come around a little bit. He's still a slugger. He's still not a guy that's going to take off and string lots of hits together. He just needs to be a good RBI producer, and that's going to be the key. And as if I look at his game more carefully, he needs to stay off the high fastball and needs to get on time with the fastball. He's hitting the breaking ball well, but the fastball's still a problem.
All right, there were a few glaring mistakes in last night's game. Colt Emerson committed 2 errors on 1 play in the 4th inning. He failed to step on second to start a double play, and his throw was in the dirt to first. The Marlins scored 4 runs in that inning. Here's Dan Wilson on the Emerson play.
You know, that was, you know, I thought Colt, you know, just trying to make a really big play right there, and you know, you can understand that from a young player trying to step out there and make that big play, and you know, it just like we said, you know, we gave an opportunity there, and they were able to sort of capitalize on it and you know, score some from there. But again, you know, we had our opportunities early, and we just weren't able to do it.
All right, let's talk about the play at second base. You know, infielders used to get away with just being in the neighborhood of second base, but that changed about 15 years ago, and now they have to have their foot on the bag. I mean, it's kind of known as the phantom tag back in the day. What do you think of this change in the rules there, Bill? I mean, you know, the guys have gotten used to it over the last decade and a half.
You've opened Pandora's box. Mm-hmm. Big Brother is watching. The replay is there. They're going to make sure that everything is done to the T. We have the tag play on a lot of close plays around bases. You have this play that doesn't happen very often, where what happened basically is Emerson knew he had to hurry. He wanted to get the double play to end the inning, so he cheated a little bit, and he's never been really exposed to replay, if you think about it. He's been in the minor leagues and came from high school, so that's never really been an issue for him. And he did short hop the ball. You got a pitcher running, just a lot of things that kind of were the sign of a young guy just being a little too aggressive, trying to make a big play when he should have just tried to, you know, maybe eat it, keep the runner at third base, because the Marlins really run. They take the extra base, and that's what happened. And, of course, it allowed a bigger inning to evolve.
I mean, hasn't been exposed to replay, sure, but he's also young enough that he really never played with that phantom tag rule. So he probably should be a little bit more aware that he needs to tap the bag first before throwing it over to first. Also, I mean, we really haven't seen the moment be too big for him too much this season, but I think it really was in that case.
Yeah, you look at that, it's almost, they install that rule to protect the runner and protect the second baseman, because there weren't a lot of collisions out there. You got guys running the second base with their hands up and doing silly things like that. So it's kind of a safety thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you had when the Posey, the catcher, got blown up, and then things have really changed since then, and they try to protect the guy at second base a little bit. Sometimes you got your back to the runner, you can get exposed. I saw Jim Gantner, who was an all-time second baseman for the Milwaukee Brewers, blow his knee out on a play where the guy came in really high, and he was never the same. So these are things they're watching for. I'm not so sure. I'm still old school. I kind of like the action around the bases. I wish it was still there. I'm kind of a big believer in the ball beating the runner out. So you're talking to the old guy in the arm in the long chair. So I have to deal with replay and accept it, knowing that it's making it more accurate.
You always refer to yourself as the old guy. I mean, I'm the old guy on the lawn too. Get off my lawn, you know. I mean,
right.
So you and I are the same there, but you're not that old, Bill. Come on.
You know what I mean? It's more of a playing in a time when we didn't have that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the Mariners have had more success hitting right-handers this season than lefties. Miami started all righties in this series, and the M's still couldn't get much going at the plate. With Julio out now with a concussion until after the All-Star break, how much does that hurt the team, Bill?
Hurts a lot. I mean, he's a terrific player. Certainly, you could argue their best player. Rosarena's been an all-star. He's had a great season. Of course, Raleigh's 60 home runs and all that he did last year. But Rodriguez is the guy that's got that amazing upside where he can carry a team for long stretches of time. And you know that he's just about on the cusp of doing that. You look at last year, he got hot right before the All-Star break in Detroit where he went crazy. It's unfortunate that they aren't going to be able to have him this series, because Miami and Tampa, these are two places where you're playing premium teams, and it's such a quirky play, getting hit by a throw when he's going into second base behind his head and end up with a concussion. Yeah, they truly miss him. As I watched this series, they really didn't adjust very well to starting pitchers that present a good fastball, but don't throw it very often. A lot of breaking stuff. The Mariners just didn't never really adjust to those starters with their breaking pitches, and they couldn't break through because really all three starters did not carry the game. And the Marlins have very good bullpen people, and they have the depth to play from the fifth inning on, and that was really the tail of the tape.
Let's talk about the Mariners pitching right now. Bryce Miller threw 5 innings last night, gave up 6 runs on 9 hits. Going into this game, he had just 5 walks all season. Last night, Miller gave up 4.
Definitely didn't have my best stuff today. They super aggressive offense, and they were able to swing early in at bats and find holes, and I didn't make too many competitive pitches early, especially with the off speed, and they were ready for it when I did. So I don't know. It's a weird game for me. They had a lot of hits, find the hole. We had 2 down the line that were about an inch away from either being foul or catching. And then if we turn 2 in the 4th, then we're out of there with no runs. So just I don't know, tough game.
Miller had a streak of facing 96 straight batters without a walk until last night, so he was certainly on a roll.
Yeah, and he said after the game also in that same conversation that it's this 6-man rotation. It's all this rest that is actually detrimental to him. He said he probably feels more rested physically, but his stuff wasn't there. It wasn't sharp.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. There's got to be something to the validity to that.
He's been in the middle of the piggyback, and you've gotten to look inside of his mind. He's revealed his discontent, not overtly, but it just sort of speaking to the fact that he'd rather be pitching every 5 days, and I don't blame him, because that's what's going to make this 5-man rotation pitch their best baseball. Look, he's been unbelievable. He had a tough game last night. His fastball is ticking down a little bit, just as I had mentioned a few weeks ago that, he was kind of fresh as a daisy, and now that 97, 98, 99 is more like 94, 95, 96. This is a good fastball hitting team. He tried to pitch off the edges, and when he missed, he tried to climb ladder. They put a jolt into it. Good left-hand hitters. But, hey, look, you're not going to snuff the league. This guy has been brilliant so far this year, and his defense didn't help him a whole lot, and they did thread some balls in. But, he's been terrific, outstanding. He's going to continue to be outstanding.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not worried about him at all this season.
No reason to be. All right, let's talk about the bullpen now. Michael Rucker out of Auburn Riverside High School threw 2 innings in relief last night, gave up 2 runs. Bill, you start to wonder, is the lack of depth and shortage of available arms in the bullpen hurting this team?
I think so. I mean, between the piggyback and the 6-man rotation, the exposure has lost this team 4 games. 2 in the piggyback and 2 where I think the 6-man had a detrimental effect. You've got the Boston and Chicago game as a piggyback. You've got the game this last series against Miami, and then the game against Cleveland where you ended up short and didn't have maybe your best reliever with the game on the line. And that's because you're playing 1 reliever short because they're unwilling to put Castillo in the bullpen. That's what they have to do. He's the odd man out. It's not as if Castillo's not a great pitcher, but he's the odd man out, at least until they can make a maneuver and get him to some place where he can be a starting pitcher, because you're getting exposed by being 1 reliever short. And they don't have a lot of really depth in the organization. They've had a lot of guys come up and try to pitch in that role, and they just haven't really been able to carry it. So.
Yeah, and my biggest concern with this is that when they head into the trade deadline, that they're not going to get somebody because they're going to think, well, we have Matt Brash coming back from injury. We have that. Like, they think that they can kind of add by their own system, and that worries me. I mean, I think that they definitely need to add an arm to that bullpen.
Yeah, Brash is still unknown. We don't know exactly when he's going to return. There's a lot of concern about this injury. It says it's a lat, but sometimes a lat could be the bottom of your rotator cuff or the back of your shoulder. Who's to really say exactly what's going on, because it's taking a while. Yeah, they need another guy. Brash comes in, he helps them. You want Bizzardo to be the guy that kind of pitches 1 or 2 innings in the middle of the game when it's tied, instead of having the Davilas and the Ruckers and the Criswells and the like having to try to carry those moments, and that's what's really hurt this team. Or when they run out of arms and they're playing in the 9th, 10th, 11th inning, and you end up losing those ball games.
The Mariners have their work cut out for them this weekend. They just got swept by the Marlins. Let's take a quick look at the AL West going into the final series before the All-Star break. The Rangers leapfrog the M's into first place, leading the Mariners by a half game. Astros are 2 back, playing some much better baseball, of course, and getting healthier, followed by the Athletics and the Angels. We talk about the Mariners taking on the Rays this weekend in the final series before the break in Tampa. The Rays and Yankees have made a bit of a 2-horse race in the AL East. Tampa is on top by 4 games, and they host those Mariners in a 3-game set this weekend. So, man, it doesn't get any easier for Seattle.